Let's be honest, environmental debates can feel impossible, right? It's just this tangled mess of science, politics, and big economic numbers. It is so easy to feel overwhelmed. But what if I told you there's a simple toolkit that can help you cut right through all that noise? Well, that's exactly what we're going to build today.
I mean, this quote from our source material just says it all, doesn't it? You've probably felt this. The second you hear climate change, you feel this wave of fatigue. It's so big, so complicated, and frankly, so exhausting.
And that's exactly why we're here. We're going to put together a mental framework, a toolkit, that's going to let you listen to any environmental argument and immediately see what's really driving it. The goal here? No more confusion, just clarity. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to decode all that noise. Then we'll get into the 3 core viewpoints that are really at the heart of every single debate. After that, we'll uncover 2 kind of hidden economic forces that are shaping everything. And then, at the end, we'll put it all together into your new toolkit. Okay, let's jump right in. The very first step is to learn how to look past all the dramatic headlines and the political soundbites to find the real structure that's hiding underneath it all. Now you're looking at the key insight from our source material, and trust me, this is a total game changer. What if instead of hundreds of different complicated arguments, there are really only 3 core perspectives clashing with each other? Once you learn how to spot them, everything, and I mean everything, starts to make a whole lot more sense. All right, let's meet the 3 main players in pretty much every environmental debate. A great way to think about them is like 3 different pairs of glasses, or lenses, that people use to look at the world. Each lens gives you a totally distinct, but coherent, view of the problem, and of course, the solution.
So first up, we've got the deep green lens. The core belief here is super straightforward. They believe environmental damage is caused by one thing and one thing only: humans consuming way too much stuff. So from this point of view, the only real solution is to fundamentally change how we live and just consume less.
Next, we have the sustainable development lens. You can think of this as the middle ground approach. It says, hey, economic development is absolutely vital, especially for poorer countries. But, and it's a big but, we can't just let it run wild. We need to guide technology and use smart regulations to steer things in a greener direction. It's a balancing act.
And finally, there's the technological development lens. Now, this viewpoint completely flips the script. It argues that the solution isn't less economic development, it's more. So what's the logic? Well, they believe that wealth and market forces are what drive the innovation that creates cleaner, more efficient technologies. The very things that can solve our environmental problems. Okay, this slide is where it all really clicks into place. Just look at the row for humans versus nature. For the deep greens, nature has equal value to us. For the tech development folks, it's a resource that serves us. This one difference explains so much. It's why their proposed climate actions, which you can see right below, are worlds apart. One side wants to outlaw entire industries, while the other just wants investment packs with no strings attached. See? It all flows from that one core belief. And this is just a brilliant example of how these lenses can change the meaning of a single word, like efficiency. The deep green perspective will bring up something called the efficiency paradox. The idea is if you make cars more fuel efficient, it makes driving cheaper. So what do people do? They drive more, and the total pollution might actually go up. Meanwhile, the technological view sees market-driven efficiency as the hero. Competition naturally pushes companies to use fewer resources because resources cost money, making everything cleaner over time. 2 totally opposite conclusions from the exact same starting point. Isn't that fascinating?
Okay, so we've got our 3 lenses. Now let's add 2 more really powerful tools to our kit. These aren't viewpoints, they're more like underlying economic principles. Think of them as the hidden rules of the game that are often causing these environmental problems in the first place.
The first rule is called the tragedy of the commons. This applies to any shared resource that nobody really owns. Like the air we all breathe or the fish in the ocean. The tragedy is that it's in every single person's short-term interest to use as much of that resource as they can, which, in the end, leads to it being destroyed for everyone. So let's make this real with the classic example. Picture a shared pasture that all the local farmers use. Every single farmer thinks, you know what, if I add just one more cow, I get all the profit from that cow, but the cost of the extra grass it eats is shared by everybody. The problem is, every farmer is thinking the exact same thing, and pretty soon the pasture is overgrazed, it's ruined, and it becomes totally useless for the whole community. And listen, this isn't just some old-timey history lesson. This exact thing is happening right now with overfishing in our oceans.
The logic for every single fishing boat is painfully simple. If I don't catch these fish, the boat next to me will. It's just a race to the bottom. And that's why the solutions you see on the slide always involve trying to create some sense of ownership, either by privatizing the resource or issuing permits. Of course, that brings its own set of problems, but that's the idea.
Okay, our second hidden rule is the concept of a negative externality. The easiest way to think about this is a hidden cost. It's a negative side effect of making something that the producer doesn't have to pay for, but the rest of us do. The textbook example is pollution.
So here's how it works in the real world. A factory pumps a bunch of smoke into the air. For the factory owner, that's just free waste disposal, right? But for all of us, it's a very real cost, things like health problems or environmental damage. That cost is external to the factory's accounting books. So the whole goal of environmental policy is to internalize that cost, to make the polluter actually pay for it, whether that's through a tax or through a market-based solution like carbon trading.
And there we have it. All the pieces are on the table. So let's just take a step back for a second and look at the complete analytical toolkit that we've just built together. So here it is, your toolkit. 3 lenses, 2 hidden rules. It's that simple. The next time you're listening to a debate or reading an article, just ask yourself, which lens is this person using? Is this a tragedy of the commons situation? Are they actually talking about a negative externality? And just like that, you'll see things with a whole new level of clarity.
But before we wrap up, there's one last absolutely essential piece of context to add to all this. Environmental concern for many people is a kind of luxury. It is really, really hard to worry about the future of the planet when you're worried about where your next meal is coming from. This link between basic prosperity and environmentalism is a critical and honestly often overlooked factor in all of these global negotiations.
So now it's your turn. Here's a real, incredibly complex and emotionally charged topic. How would someone looking through the deep green lens approach this? What about the sustainable development lens, or the technological development one? What hidden rules are at play here? Your toolkit won't give you this single right answer, because there probably isn't one. But what it will give you is the power to understand the entire debate on a much, much deeper level.